Before we get started on the ceremony, I would like to introduce my boss and your principal, Mr. Loman.
Good morning. First of all, I would love to thank Mr. Gibbs for organizing this and all of our guests that are here with us today as we honor Black History Month. Just for all of our students and staff, this is breaking news for you, and I'm glad that we have visitors here that I can share this with. I've been around in education since 1997, and Radcliffe Middle School, North Middle School, has finished dead last in everything academically. Raise your hand if you went up in your MAP score. Good. Now take that hand, pat yourself on the back. This year our focus in Hardin County Schools is growth, meeting or exceeding your expected growth. Just got this news yesterday. From fall to winter in reading and math, we are not number 5 anymore. But I have better news. We're number 1. Okay, I don't want to take up too much time, but I don't want to take up too much time, but I want to give you this news that 6th grade of the 5 middle schools, 6th grade in math and reading ranked first in the district. Seventh grade in percentage of students meeting or exceeding expected growth, math and reading, 3rd place in the district. And 8th grade. 8th grade math, number 1. And 8th grade reading, number 2. We have amazing students here, and we also have amazing teachers here. So you all make sure when you go to your class, it's not just your math and your reading teachers, although they are fantastic. It takes everybody. It takes your related arts teachers, your science teachers, social studies teachers, everyone. Everyone, we're all in this together, and we're all moving forward in the right direction. I'm very proud of you.
That was wonderful news. I'm just so proud to be a teacher here with this great school. I'm just speechless. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who doesn't know who I am, my name is Mr. Gibbs, and I teach JLC for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and we focus on leadership, servant leadership, giving back to the community, discipline, and just how to be a better person. And it's a true honor to host this event as we have distinguished and influenced panel speakers with us this morning. We are excited to have Honorable Hampton, Lieutenant General Arnold Hampton, Lieutenant Governor Arnold Hampton, Brigadier General Vereen, Command Sergeant Major Griffin, Principal Packer, Mr. Collins, and Mr. Barnett. Councilwoman Seabrook, she should be here shortly, so she should be at the end down there. This is such an important month to recognize all the Black Americans that contributed to American history and realize the large roles that Black Americans had throughout history has currently played. The United States has celebrated Black history since 1915, 50 years after slavery was abolished in the United States. We're just over 100 years of celebrating Black History Month. Some of your great-great-grandparents may have been alive during that celebration. We have come a long way, but we still have a long ways to go. We have this exciting panel here to discuss and engage with you about the history and celebration of Black History Month, as well as some of their own trials and tribulations that paved their way through success. Please note, success looks different from each individual. What is success to me might not be success to you. And know that it's okay to set goals that fit your own version of success, but always strive for greatness, which you all always do, and I really appreciate it. At one time, each of these speakers you see today was sitting right where you are, in the middle school, taking classes, making friends, and thinking about what they're going to do when they grow up. We invite each student here today to think about a question, share a story, and relinquish in the celebration that this month deserves. We will have a question and answer period at the end of each event, so please think of your question. And thank you. I'm going to introduce shortly the guest panelists, and they can introduce themselves. So first, let's give a round welcome to Brigadier General Vereen.
Okay. All right. That speaks loud. Hey, good morning. How are y'all doing? Good. Wow, it's really loud. Hey, so first of all, I do want to tell you, I'm not going to talk long because we've got a huge panel of folks to speak. I'm honored to be able to come out and talk to you. And like was just said before, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but a number of years I was sitting, where you all are sitting. I mean, I'm decades ago. But I will tell you that one thing that I can almost say to everybody is that for me, growing up, I'm from North Carolina, the great state of North Carolina. And my father was in the military, so I want to talk about folks who influenced me. My father was from a country town in North Carolina. Went to through school. He actually graduated from high school, and he didn't know what he wanted to do. And I'll never forget him telling a story that for the most part, young African Americans who went through school and stayed in North Carolina, they worked on a farm. That's what they did. But most of the African Americans didn't own farms. They worked for other people. And so I never forget my dad, which I am very, very thankful for. He wanted to move away from home. And he wanted to do something with his life. He didn't want to stay in North Carolina. He didn't want to work on a farm forever. And so he said, I'm going to join the military. And so at the young age of 17, he went off and somehow he was able to get into the Army. He did not want to go back home and work on a farm. And so one of the things that resonated with me was a story that he told me was he had already graduated from training in the Army. He was physically in the Army, graduated from basic training, which is the first stage of being a soldier. You got to go through basic training. So he went back home, back to North Carolina. He was there on leave, which is kind of the little vacation you have before you actually go to your next station. And he was sitting there, and the person that he worked for when he was back in North Carolina in school, a bunch of African Americans, young men, that worked on the farm, and the guy pulls the truck up and he says, "Hey, get in the truck." I mean, he's like, I'm in the military. I'm no longer, working on the farm. And so he said after that conversation, he just packed his stuff up and he left. And he signed to his unit early because he was bound and determined that, he was going to do something with his life. And he was just going to go and sign in his unit and start serving in the military. And I'll tell you, I went through high school and my father told me, and I tried to study well, just like you all are doing, I'm sure. And he told me, he said, "Hey, look, I want you to be better than I was in life." I wanted to be an NBA basketball player. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, man, I'm going to play in the NBA. He sat me down, he said, "Hey, son, less than like 1% of people who come through school and play college basketball get a chance to play in the NBA." And I'm like, wow, that number isn't that big. I'm 12 years old, and I know that that's not a big number when you say less than 1%. So I said, I got to do something else, and I decided to take ROTC. Never thought in a million years that I would be a general officer, and I'll tell you, I didn't get here by myself. And I heard somebody say this one key phrase, is that, I'm almost like a turtle sitting on a fence. I don't know how I got there, but I know I didn't get there by myself. I will tell you, it's people that look like me and people that look like everybody in this room that helped me get to where I'm at. So my story to you is, don't sit where you are. You can be successful, and you don't have to take a backseat to anybody. If you're focused and you know what you want to do, you can do whatever you want to do. Sky's the limit. And so I just share that with you. And I hope you all have the much success in life, the very best that you can have, life has to offer for you. So thanks very much.
Thanks, sir. Sergeant Major Griffin.
First of all, I'm going to say good morning. Good morning. You heard General Marine talk about basic training, and that's the first place that you go into the military. So I would tell you, 18 years ago, if you was coming into the military, I would have been the first guy that you saw. That guy that wear that big brown hat, that do all the hollering and the screaming. They call him a drill sergeant. I would tell you the best decision that I ever made in my military, or in my life so far, thus far, was to come into the military. And it's a news one. First of all, let me tell you where I'm from. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Nothing against the commander. He says from the great state of North Carolina, but everybody knows about the great state of Alabama. And the national championships that they continue to get every year at the great state. And my son goes there right now. I have a junior at the University of Alabama right now, and I have a senior at Georgia State. But I would tell you, I come from a state, and I come from a city that's rich in history. Rich in history. And I would tell you that Dr. Martin Luther King, if he was here today, he'll be happy to see what I see right now. Because he walked right in those streets of Birmingham trying to make sure that what he see right now is going on in these schools, and how all different races and creeds are in the same classroom together. My mom was a product of integration. She went to a segregated school all her life. And then she was one of those ones that was, they was forced to go to school with people that didn't look like them, that didn't talk like them, that didn't think like them. And it was a struggle at first, just listen to the stories that she would tell me. But I would tell you that it was the best experience of her life, for her, and for my family. So I joined the military 28 years ago. I really didn't know what I was doing because I would tell you, just like the commander, I was a football guy. I played football since I was 7 years old, and the only thing I ever wanted to do was play football, play professional football. So that's what I'm gonna do. My senior year of high school, I broke my hand. I had a couple of schools looking at me, but I broke my hand my senior year of high school, and they said, you know what, you don't run the ball the way you used to. I had a couple of scholarship offers at that time. Now, I had academic, and I don't want you to think that it's all about sports, because I had academic scholarships as well. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna go into the military first, because at that time, the military was considered to be the easy way out. But what I will tell you, 28 years later, Sergeant Major Griffin has a master's degree in business management. And the military paid for that. The military paid for my 2 kids that's in college right now because of the sacrifice that I made. He didn't say much, but I tell you, it was years ago that you would have never seen a general officer with that star on the front of their chest or a command sergeant major that looked like me. I talked to my uncle that was a Vietnam vet. And when he heard I made first sergeant, he was like, what? First sergeant? Something's not right. Black guys don't hold those ranks. And I told her I hadn't met enough something. The world has changed. You gotta stop thinking that way. So don't ever let nobody tell you that you can't do that. Because I'm telling you right now, they told me that only 1% of people make it in the NBA. Well, as an enlisted soldier, only 1% of the enlisted population make the rank of command sergeant major. And I was told a long time ago that I wouldn't be able to make it. And for the last 5 years, I've been a command sergeant major. And it all started just like it started for you right now. Sitting in bleachers, listening to people talk. And I know some of y'all say, that guy, he don't know what he's talking about. He whatever. I was sitting right where you were sitting at. Hearing people tell me the exact same thing, that I could be what I want to be. And at some point, it resonated in my mind I could. This is the thing that I will leave you with, because a lot of y'all have dreams. And I heard Denzel Washington say this, dreams without goals are just dreams, though. Sooner or later, you'll be upset about it because you're going to come. I ask and I challenge each and every one of you to set goals for yourself. Start now. It's not too early. You have so much stuff for you that at your age now that I didn't have when I was your age. I was just talking to somebody a second ago. Y'all have so much information. All you got to do is pick up your cell phone. When I came into the military, there was no cell phone. How about that? Could you imagine life without a cell phone? Hey! Don't try to fool Sergeant Major. Every last one of y'all got access to a cell phone. So I see y'all because you don't look up. Most of the time your neck is down like this, looking at a cell phone. Hey, I thank you, Mr. Gibbs, for inviting me here. Hey, I challenge each and every one of you to be the best that you can be, and it's already obvious that you are because you're #1 in so many categories, and that's great, that's outstanding. You should walk around with your head up high, knowing that you're a part of the best, and always be a part of the best. And I look forward to whatever questions you throw at me as we do this talking session.
Thank you, Command Sergeant Major. Next will be Councilwoman Ms. Seabrooks.
Took them up today because of the snow. Good morning, North Middle. Oh, I'm so excited to see some of my favorite groups in the whole wide world. Oh, you can give yourself a hand, it's okay. I was just teasing with Mr. Gibbs. He said, I'm surprised you didn't have your heels on. Well, the weather didn't permit that for me today. So therefore, we're in the flats. Nonetheless, still fabulous. Aw, y'all are sweet. Well, you know, I've been really absorbing in everything that everyone is saying so far, but this is what I would like to tell you. I guess we can talk a little bit about me. This is not something I typically do, so let's just have a little fun with it. But I grew up, I was a military brat. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. Yes, home of Motown. Yes, I am. And I do believe that that's something that me and Lieutenant Governor do share, so yes. But not only that, I grew up military, so my father moved quite a bit, which meant we moved. And I had the luxury of spending time overseas as well as in country in different places. What it taught me most was the ability to learn how to deal with people that are different than me. Everybody didn't have to look like me, but we all shared a common goal. We love to have a good time, we love to grow, and we love to laugh. And I learned then that it doesn't matter where you start or anything like that. Do not let anybody make you feel like you're a product of anything. This is an opportunity for you to grow and to become and develop and become better. You can become better than what your parents are. A lot of them right now are probably talking to you about legacy and leaving a lasting impression, and that starts now. The dream can start now, and the work to start the dream can start now as well. I did not have, let me just go ahead and tell you this, I had no intention ever of getting into politics, but I am proud to say I am a second-generation city councilwoman serving the city of Radcliffe, and I thank my mom enough. I can't thank her enough. She did pave the way. I just did a tribute to her on yesterday, just for the fact that she was elected the first black woman to city council in Radcliffe, and that was a stride. But not to say that it has to stop there. The best way to celebrate any history is to continue to make your own. And I encourage you all to do that. Having first black, second black, whatever the case may be, first Hispanic, first Latino, first whatever you are, whomever you are, there's still first to be made. There's still research that needs to be found. There's still opportunities that we have yet to see. So, and it may be sitting right here in this room. And there is a lot of greatness that's come out of Radcliffe, Kentucky. It's a small city, but it has big things happening. And I know several people who have left legendary, lasting impressions on our community, but also with you. I want to see what you can do. And we don't want to just seem like it's just something that's what old people do. No, it starts today. So for the one who likes to make someone laugh, you could be the next comedian that we see on TV that takes over the talk show world. For the one that likes to shop, you could be the next innovator of the right outfit to wear. For the one that wants to be able to talk and make plans and make dreams happen for other people, you could be the next HR professional that we've been missing out on, that can give people real jobs. You know, that's the kind of thing that you can look at. For the one that wants to be involved with the process of our military defense, you'll be sitting where these gentlemen are. You'll be the next sergeant major, and they want you to go further than that. You know, it's just, there's no limits. And if you put them on yourself, that's your deal. But if we're telling you now to take the limits off and go as far as you can, you may say, hey, I want to work in Congress. I don't know what they do, but I want to work in Congress. You can actually do that. Don't worry. You may say, I want to run for president. You can do that. Anything you want to do, you can do. We're telling you today, no matter if someone told you you're never going to be anything, you can't do this, you can't do that, Councilwoman Tanya Seabrooks is telling you you can. And I want you to, okay? Is that all right? Yes. All right. So as we celebrate this month, I want to thank Mr. Neil Gibbs for allowing us to come out today to share with you all. But if nothing else, I wanted to wake the dream in you and to move forward. There are several people that I could quote right now, but all of them come to mind all at once, so the words are kind of jumbled. But the bottom line of the story is, whatever you want to do, you can do, and it starts today. Make choices today that'll affect your future. Who you hang around with today affects your future. Who you associate with affects your future. I feel the need to say that for some reason. Because my mother has always told me this. This is something that I always keep up with. She never picked my friends, but she told me, she said, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You will become like the product that you hang around. So if you are hanging around positive people who are doing great things and are trying to move forward, you'll be about that. If you are doing the opposite of that, you'll be about that life too. That's all I got. But blessings to you, North Middle. You all are amazing and outstanding. I've had the opportunity of working with you all for some time now, thanks to Mr. Gibbs and several other educators here. But I salute you today, and I encourage you, and if nothing else, I inspire you to do as much as you can to make this world better. It all starts with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seabrooks. One of my mentors, Ms. Packer.
Well, I'm just so overwhelmed right now. I just wish I was sitting out there. I wish I had this when I was a young girl. So, I'm originally from Queens, New York. Somebody said, what happened? Well, my father was in the military as well, and it was a wonderful opportunity. So what I love poetry, and I love to sing, even though I really can't carry a tune like I would like to, but I do like to write poetry. So a couple of days ago, Mr. Gibbs, when I received an email, I said, you know what I want to do? I want to write a poem for you all. I want to empower you all. But I have another stack of papers. So if you all don't participate, I'm going to go over there to Mr. Packer and I'm going to say, could you pull out that 300-page letter and I will read that word by word if you don't participate. Got it? Got it? Okay, so a little bit about me. This is my 20th year in education. I was a soldier as well. I worked in the crime lab. I was the only female in this crime lab. The military was the best experience of my life. The military was the best experience of my life. As Councilwoman Seabrooks said, I loved going to Germany and speaking German. I loved going to Japan. That's where, of course, I met my husband. I love going to Seattle and Washington and meeting new people. You all have the world right here. All you have to do is sit in that classroom and listen to those wonderful teachers that are educating you. They are wonderful. The poem is called It's All in Me. Let me hear you say that. It's all in me. Stephen, do you have that 300-page essay? Let's try it again. One more time. It's all in me. So when I point to you, you will say those words. It is all in me. To be successful or an unfruitful tree. To esteem my friends, my peers, and those I see. My family expects me to excel, to exceed, to beam with glee. North Middle, let me hear you say. I believe the ladies can do a better job. Ladies, let me hear you say that. Okay, guys, I think you can do better. Now, let me see you say it with your gun show. Okay, put them up. Let me hear you guys. Your goal, my goal, is to illuminate positivity. Speak life to those that you see, especially when you see a friend in need. A college career pathway is your key. I'm going to say that again. A college career pathway is your key. North Middle, let me hear you say. Engineers, doctors, teachers, I see. Awesome Trojans sitting patiently. Excuses has no place in this audience. You are filled with ingenuity. Let me hear you say it one more time, Trojans. It's Maybe you will be a Trojan. I see Spartans up there. One more time, Spartans! Thank you. You all, I appreciate you. You have everything you need inside you. You will illuminate positivity because it's all in you.
Thank you, Ms. Packer. Next will be Mr. Collins.
I'm hard of hearing, so I need your help. I'm the old man in the group. Thank you very much. I am able to hear now. It's an honor to be here to talk about those leaders who have gone before us and those that are present with us today. I like to talk about my beginnings. I too am from LA. That's not Los Angeles. That's not Louisiana. That's called Lower Alabama. I was born in Montgomery, Alabama in 1951 to some parents who were very, very old. As a matter of fact, my dad, and I'm only 66, my father was born in 1882. Approximately 20 plus years after Emancipation Proclamation. Yes, I'm very honored. My mom was 36 years younger than my father. Yes. When they married, she was 25. And he was 25. Very good. I know you got number one in math. A couple of years after that, about 4 years later, that would make Mom, what, 29? Something like that? Yeah, no, 33. They were married 8 years before I came along. So my dad would have been 74. And Mom would have been 33 plus 4 is 37. Wow. So that began my journey in Alabama, Montgomery. And in the 50s, it was quite different, but I'll come back to that in a moment. Old people are long-winded, so I have to have my timekeeper. But my influence began, of course, with my parents, morally and spiritually, and in the educational side, that came later. My mother, of course, was the first person who did all of my teaching. She required obedience. Now you say, what about your dad? Well, my dad was an old man, and he was out on the road working, and so therefore Mom had to do all of the other things until Dad came home on the weekends. He worked on the Louisville-Nashville Railroad, and he traveled all through the week. And so I stayed in a boarding house, like, up above this restaurant and all that, and so we would hear people boom, 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 walking all around, and so that was my life growing up. Some more influences in my life was my uncle, Joe DeRamus, a little bit short man, very powerful man, a very spiritual individual. He was a very good male, godly example for me in my life. And then there was we had in South, we had Madea, we had Big Mama, and Big Daddy. Yeah, and so when we moved from Alabama in the 50s of 1951, 55, I came to Kentucky, and this couple, they liked me for some reason, and the gentleman's name was Mr. Cecil Smith, and his wife was Darlene. And they said, how would you like to call me Big Daddy and Big Mama? Cool. They had no kids, so I became their only kid. It was great. So they were a great figure in my life. Intellectually and educational-wise, my mother only had a third-grade education. My father died when I was 5, so I don't have any idea what type of education he had that was not shared with me. Evidently, he had some because, remember, he was born in 1882, so at that time we were called coloreds or Negroes, and they were not allowed to be educated at that time. Not with reading and writing and that sort of thing. So they had to learn by those, if they were, for example, on a plantation or whatever, they learned from the masters or their children or someone in the home. So I think my father was educated to the point that he could read and he could write. So that was amazing. I think that set a foundation for me to start on. Well, as I progressed, my mother taught me my ABCs, my counting, my spelling. Oh, by the way, guys. And if I missed a number or a letter, in those days it wasn't considered, what we consider today. It was a little tap on the leg to remind me to stay focused. I think the older ones know what I'm talking about. Okay, then as I progressed on to Kentucky here and grew up in Louisville, Louisville, take your pick. I met some other people, some educators and some other people in our community. I met a gentleman named, my first grade teacher, number one, my first grade teacher. I remember her name today. Her name was Mrs. Pratt, P-R-A-T-T. I would love to know if she's still living or where she is. She influenced me so much. But the greatest thing about it was, here was a little young African-American boy, as you call it today, coming from Alabama, and had experienced not being able to go in a store and buy a candy bar. Get up at 4 and 5 in the morning with my parents and get on a truck and go pick cotton. I was 3 years old, I remember that. Listen to someone scream, this is kind of funny. Listen to someone scream, "Ah!" That means the lady saw a snake. Yeah, and the guys would come running to rescue. And then coming to Kentucky, and there were some good people in Alabama, don't get me wrong, of color. And her love for me, and by the way, I was the only African-American, black, colored child in the room. And the love that she showed toward me pulled me in. And it caused me to have a desire to excel. And that's what I encourage each and every last one of you to do. I'm going to cut this off, I'm getting long. No matter red, white, black, yellow, you name it, love will pull you in, and it will be your strongest weapon in this life. I'm going to skip everything else, and I'll say this on closing. Black History Month is important. And the reason it's so important is because each one of you, each one of us sitting here, all of us are a part of black history. If it had not been for the wonderful white people, Indians, Native Americans, Mexicans, and all races of people, because we're people, just different shades of color, shades of soul, we're all a part of that history. And there were people who sacrificed to make sure that we had food, clothing, shelter, safety. Sure, there was the other side, but we must never dismiss the best side. And the best side is sitting right here, as someone previously said. You are the picture of the future that our foreparents dreamed of. And you can keep that legacy and dream alive. Why should we not forget Black History Month? I want to read this. If our society fails to recognize the people and that's black and white, who built major portions of this great nation by slavery, then it will have to remove the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner, and the Pledge of Allegiance. May that never happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Barnett.
How you doing, North Hart Middle School? I am honored to be in company of such great leadership. And all of our leadership who came before said they were from this state to this state, but I am from the great state of Kentucky. I'm from a small town called Greensburg, Kentucky, where we live on a farm. And as a matter of fact, it takes about 5 minutes to ride through that whole county. I love people. Mr. Collins mentioned love. I'll tell you, if we do more of that and less hate, then we will have the whole world will be a much better place. My story is a little different than the ones who came before. My story, I remember being in high school and I was one of the bad guys. You know, I was one of the guys who sat way up in the corner. You know, we didn't want to hear the speakers and things like that. We didn't care about stuff like that was going on. We wanted to be cool. You know, and I remember when I graduated from high school, and I had no clue of where I was going from there. We drank. I was a fullback for A-Town High about 7 years ago. I'm lying. I was a fullback for A-Town High School, and we used to party all the time. That partying carried over once I got out of high school. See, I never got out of high school mode, you know, and so now all my partying started to get me into trouble. So my whole life I started idolizing people who were getting rid of the bad boys, you know, who were doing this and doing that, and they had a lot of money, and so I thought, you know, this, that, and the other. So I idolized those guys, and my whole life was in and out of trouble. One good thing that I did pick up on while I was in high school was I love to read. I love to read about people like Thurgood Marshall, who became one of the first Supreme Court justices. I love people like Frederick Douglass, who was an abolitionist. I love people like Martin Luther King Jr., who paved the way for people like me. But I'll tell you something else that I loved. People who helped those people, white people, who loved, who helped to provide love, because we didn't do this by ourselves. People actually done things who stood up for justice. I love that. I love that. Today I am. Well, let me back up just a little bit. I went on to go to college. I was in school. I never really made really good grades or anything like that. I wasn't the captain of this or part of, I wasn't very good in high school with my grades. But I did go on to college here about 7 years ago. I started going to college. I'm what you call a late bloomer. And I started going to college, and now I started applying myself. That's something that I'd never done in high school. See, all through high school, they would pull me outside, and they would tell me things like, Dennis, you're one of the smartest people here, but you won't apply yourself. Dennis, you have so much potential, but you won't apply yourself. But see, I didn't hear things like that at home. I heard things like, then you're not going to amount to nothing. Those are things that I heard at home, in my community. So I had to overcome adversity not only in out in the community, but I had to overcome adversity in my own home. And if you're out there, and you hear things like that at home, you can overcome those adversities. I want you to know that. You know, I went on to go to high school, go to college, and I'll be to sit on dean's lists and things like that, and won some awards and things like that. And I went on to found my own company called the Commitment House, helping the other people who struggle with alcohol and drugs, just like me. Today I have 4 companies. I have over 40 people employed by the Commitment House program. We do things, we go out in the community and we help people. We help people. Instead of taking away from life today, we try to see what we can bring to it. How can we help our fellow man? Heroin addiction is claiming more lives than you name it. And we try to combat that opioid and heroin addiction problem. So I want to leave you with this. My past has not been my potential. You can overcome some things. Well, I faced a lot of adversity with the Commitment House program. I've faced racism and this, that, and the other. It's not been an easy journey, but it's been one that's beneficial. You won't get to where you want to be by doing nothing. Hard work, and determination. Never stop striving for your goals. Please don't do that. Never stop working for it. And only with hard work and determination will you achieve those things. I wish you all the best in life. I wish you all success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Ladies and gentlemen, our Lieutenant Governor, Lieutenant Hampton, Honorable.
Thank you and good morning. First of all, congratulations on bringing up your academic performance at this school. I cannot tell you how important education is, and it was important to my journey. We've heard that in some of these stories today, and I loved to all the speakers today. Thank you for sharing your stories, because I've heard elements that are so important that kids need to hear. I have been to over 100 schools in the 2 years that I've been in office, and they were just asking me to come and share my personal story. I think it's instructive for you all to hear that, you know, this general didn't get there overnight. He didn't get there overnight. There were speed bumps along the way. We all have speed bumps, but here's the thing. What you do when you get to a speed bump in life probably says more about your character than anything else. And so let me ask you guys this. How many of you know exactly what you want to do in life when you're grown up? How many of you know that? Okay, that's the typical number of hands. But let me just say this to you. If for those of you who raised your hands, don't be shocked if that changes in your lifetime. It could change 2 or 3 or 4 times in your lifetime. And for the rest of you who don't have a clue, don't feel bad, because most of us don't. When I was sitting there at your age, I had no clue. Actually, I kind of did. I thought I wanted to be an astronaut. I was born in 1958, so 1960s. The space program was just so vibrant. I grew up wanting to be an astronaut, but you talk about the long shots of becoming a general or a high-ranking officer. It's a long shot to be, or playing the NBA, it's an even longer shot to be an astronaut. It really is. It's a few people, but I knew this. However, just the journey of attempting to get there enriched my life. It really did. So I share something in common with the councilwoman. I was born in Detroit, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And so real quick, my story grew up poor. My mom became a single mom after a divorce. So she's left to raise 4 girls in the inner city of Detroit. And you think you might know how that story would end. However, all 4 of us are the first in our family to go to college. Every single one of us did. And we did that. That's despite my parents not being able to afford it. And when I say we grew up poor, listen, we didn't have a car, we didn't have a washing machine, and some years we didn't even have a TV set. That would be, I mean, for you guys to not have a TV set, right, would be just really horrible. Well, we didn't even have a TV set some years, but we knew the neighbors who did, because Batman was required viewing back then when I was growing up. But I knew by the time I graduated, first of all, I knew how important school was. Nothing was going to deter me from school. In fact, if I was sick, I remember crying if my mom made me stay home. You know, when you have the chicken pox, you really shouldn't go to school and spread that. But I knew how important education was to being something other than, or to escaping the poverty that I saw around me. And I knew what was possible. I knew that in this nation, unique among all other nations, I knew in this nation I had opportunity that I would not have had if I was born someplace else. And so I was grateful. I knew by the time I was 10 or 12 that I was grateful to be here, and I didn't think I was stuck. So wherever you are does not define who you are. If you made mistakes, it does not define who you are. You're not stuck there. You know, you've all had this great academic achievement. Don't rest on your laurels. Keep going, okay? So I ended up working my way through college. I earned an industrial engineering degree. Then I served in the United States Air Force for 7 years. Wonderful experience, an absolutely wonderful experience. And after that, I went to work in the box industry, which sounds kind of boring, but it really wasn't. I actually rose to plant manager. And there was a series of firsts throughout my life that I didn't intend for it to be the first, but I was the first woman supervisor out on the production floor at the plant where I worked. I was the first black person to hold a salaried position when I moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky at a box plant. And today, I'm the first black person to hold statewide office in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And again, I did not set out to do these firsts. I knew the opportunity that we have here in this nation. I knew the civil rights movement, the folks back in the 50s and 60s who fought for black people to have the right, just the right to sit at a lunch counter, just the right to use the same bathroom that everybody else used. You know, just the right to go to school, so that when I was ready to go to college, I didn't have to search for a school that would take black people. Today, when I travel, I don't have to look for a conveyance that will accept black people. I could just book a hotel room, I could just book a flight, and my race doesn't matter. And I know there were people who fought for that in the 1960s. Can you imagine having gentlemen like these in uniform having to escort you to school just so you could go to school? I remember seeing those pictures. So nothing was going to deter me from school, nothing. And and there was a lot of influence. There was a lot of negative influence when I was growing up. Some kids didn't want to be in school. Some kids didn't appreciate school. And so they skipped, they did drugs, they did other things, and they tried to get me to do that too. And I wasn't going there. I was not going there. Because I didn't know what my life held, what my future held, but I knew they were headed at full speed towards a brick wall, and I was not going to go there with them. And so you're gonna encounter a lot of negative influences. You need to tune them out. Learn to tune them out. And somebody said it here. Surround yourselves with good people, with people who uplift you, with people who make you laugh, who support you. Find those people throughout your lifetime. It's so important. and your mentors. Find someone who can mentor you. And here's a thing. Your mentors don't have to look like you. When I was growing up, I knew that because of Dr. King. Dr. King, I remember him when he was alive. God bless him. I remember him talking about his kids, and he said he wanted his kids to be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. And I remember thinking about that. I was a deep kid. I often liked to listen to the older people talk, right? Because especially when they thought you weren't listening. And I remember that quote from Dr. King. I remember when he said it, and I knew why he said it. I was familiar with the civil rights movement, but for me, what it meant was not only could I expect not to be judged by my skin color, it meant I couldn't judge others based on theirs. And I had a renewed appreciation for that when I joined the military, and all my friends were from all over the United States and the U.S. territories, and we were all so different, but we all got along, and it was great. We worked together, we played together after work, had a fantastic time in the United States military. And so I've carried that philosophy with me my whole life. I don't look at skin color. It doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. Sex doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So as I've looked for work, I've just looked for work that would pay me well, that would be interesting. So when I went to work in a box plant as a supervisor, I started as a supervisor, but I was so curious. Anybody here been in a manufacturing facility of any type at all? Oh, that's not enough. You guys need to do that. Okay, field trip idea, okay? But I was so curious about how a plant worked. I started poking around in other departments and helping people. Helping the people in customer service and helping the people in shipping and helping the people in scheduling. And so they started promoting me, and that's how I rose to plant manager. And it was very rewarding. And I got into this job. Actually, I'm lieutenant governor by God's grace. I know that. I certainly didn't get here by myself because I never wanted to be in. It's funny the councilwoman said that you didn't want to be in politics either. Neither did I. So, but sometimes when you sit back and you say, that's a problem. Somebody should do something. Sometimes that someone is you. You're gonna see that in your lifetime. You're gonna see opportunities to help people and fix things. Don't wait for someone to ask, just step up and do it. And so again, what I wanna leave you with is this. Let me ask you a question first. How many of you could see yourselves as a governor or a lieutenant governor or a president someday? Not many hands. Okay, so those of you who didn't raise your hand, don't feel bad. Because honestly, if someone had told me when I was your age that someday I would be the lieutenant governor of Kentucky, I would have wondered what they were smoking. I really would have. I couldn't see it either. I mean, you have doubts about your own capabilities. It just comes with the territory. I couldn't see it either. But so I want you to know you all are capable of way more than you think. And don't let anybody convince you otherwise. Don't let them convince you of that, okay? That's the worst possible thing is for people to not even dream, to not even think about what they could become or should become. Think about that. And it's okay if you don't know what it is now. That's perfectly fine. But continue to read. We were all avid readers. Continue to study math and science and take as many classes as you can so you can be prepared for the opportunity that's going to swim in front of you by the time you graduate from high school. So God bless each and every one of you on your journey, and I hope your journey is as fun and as exciting as mine has been. So thank you so much. So I hope you got some great questions.